and I just got to where I couldn't take it anymore, and that led to a lot of depression. But once I got out of that, it was so much better.
What I would want for other people is to not give up. I think that's the most important thing.
Depression. It isn't just sadness. It's not a bad day or a hard moment. It's a long, quiet erosion, a slow dimming of the light inside. It dulls the senses, distorts reality, and makes even the simplest task feel impossibly heavy. It's like living beneath a sky that never quite clears.
So when I think about depression, I read an article many decades ago described a type A personality, then they described a type D personality, and they said this kind of person was not clinically depressed, but just down at a lower mood level, energy level, never down in the basement miserable, but never up excited and happy. And I thought, how did they learn all about me?
So I was dealing with some depression before becoming a nomad. That was really wrapped up in grief and loss that I'd experienced in the preceding years. Since becoming a nomad, the only time I really struggle with feelings of depression is when I get stuck in town having to do stealth camping for very long. What I've learned after a few cycles of that is that 2 or 3 days of stealth camping, and I'm pretty definitely starting to feel myself depressed. Because what happens for me is I feel like I'm homeless at that point. I'm stuck in town, living in a vehicle, trying to avoid the knock on the door or any problems like that. The solution for me, is as soon as I get back in nature, back on the road traveling, finding in. Usually those situations have arisen because I had to be stuck in town somewhere for work for a bit, or I had to be stuck in town because of vehicle problems or whatever, and that does kind of get to me pretty quick. But other than that, for me, being out in nature, being on the road traveling is therapeutic.
My initiation into adulthood, as well as into the field of behavioral health, actually started as a major clinical depression in my adolescence. My depression in my youth was linked to what I understood about freedom and society. I wanted to live somewhere beautiful, and to do that, it required I work 60 plus hours a week over 3 different types of jobs, and then I was never outside. It never made sense to me that we had to spend our life indoors all day to meet the basic core responsibilities of living. I wanted to be a nomad from the time I was 17 and really starting to plan what adult life would look like. And I wish I had the stubbornness back then that I ended up getting in my 30s, because in my 30s I said, you know what, this has been consistent for 21 years, that a certain aspect of societal structure that doesn't allow for ultimate autonomy and enjoyment of life without pure and utter exhaustion, like, that's not okay.
So this is my depression story. Basically, I've been an outsider just about all my life. I think most of us on the road have been outsiders, even those of us who are able to wear really happy masks. We're outsiders. We've learned how to adapt. But when you're an outsider, how do you feel? A lot of times we feel depressed, we feel cut off, isolated. And if we have internal neural wiring that sets us up for getting depressed, plus the environment, this is 2 rocks we're pushing uphill. So depression has been a constant with me all my life. I mean, in my late 40s, I'd isolated myself for so long. It's a wonder I survived. It's equivalent to a heart attack, and I've had 2 heart attacks, so I can speak with great authority on that.
Depression doesn't always look like sorrow. Sometimes it feels like emptiness or numbness. It's a loss of joy in something we've once loved. It's a fog that blurs the edges of joy, connection, and even time itself. It impacts sleep. It impacts appetite. It impacts our ability to think clearly.
So I have experienced depression. I've been diagnosed clinically with it. 20 years off and on. They had me on Prozac for 20 years. And then, I would go through cycles where I'd be okay, and then I would not be okay. I got off everything, and I changed my diet. I I got busy. Someone once told me when all else fails, do the dishes. And what she meant by that was just do anything, do something productive.
At one time in my life, I was the worker. I was the one who had to go out and work 10, 12 hours a day and had to provide for my family. I found what I thought was my dream job was FedEx, because I like driving. It started out well, and then it just became more and more all-encompassing until all I was my job. And I never saw my kids, and I never saw my wife, and anytime I did, it was me being this angry person who hated life, hated the world, hated myself because of that. Finally, I got to that point where my friend who worked with me, his name John Hawkins, passed away on the job and had a heart attack, and he died. He had 2 kids. He had a wife. He's gone. And they put a new guy in there 2 days later on his route, and that was it. And I thought, okay, if they're going to do that to him, I know they'll do that to me, because I'm just another guy, right? I'm just a robot. They want robots. I mean, you talk about meaning. It was meaningless. It's like just another package, another package, another package. And I just got to where I couldn't take it anymore. And that led to a lot of depression. But once I got out of that, it was so much better. And being on the road, I'm not doing anything mind or life-changing. You know, I'm working at a camp doing camp hosting, but it's not something that takes over your life. You don't have to work it until you drop. It's a better life being out here.
After I got treated for the depression and they diagnosed me with bipolar, I vowed that no one else should have to go through what I went through. So as part of my own healing and learning, I shifted my journalistic focus to mental health. For 17 years, I led a meaningful life as a mental health writer and advocate. And I won't say I defeated it. I learned how to handle it. I made depression, in a way, my friend. You know, if you think of it as something you have to beat back, it's going to beat back harder at you. You have to incorporate this depression, learn to live with it, learn to roll with it, and learn to acknowledge, in its own perverse way, its gifts, because it has given me self-awareness. It has given me introspection. It has given me a way of looking at the world that is unique. It stokes my creativity in a lot of ways. The big takeaway here is I've learned to live with it, and I've learned to roll with it. When it strikes, I treat it as a cold. It's like it's going to slow me down for a few days, maybe even put me in bed or in my hammock for a few days, but I will recover.
So a study in 2021 reported that 39% of adults in the U.S. reported symptoms of anxiety or depression. Now, there are many remedies to sort of help ease the difficulty of these states of mind. One of the most important things is not to push it away, is to admit to the feelings, accept yourself just as you are. Even though I have anxiety right now, I still accept myself as I am. Even though I'm feeling depressed at the moment, I still accept myself as I am. And I want to talk a little bit about a daily routine. So I try to commit to a daily routine wherever I am, but it becomes especially important on the road because being on the road can be a little ungrounding, right? So first and foremost for me is just getting to bed and getting up at sort of more or less the same time every day. That really helps me personally. In the morning, coffee or tea, and then I meditate and pray and journal and just sort of get my spirit and soul and head together in a way that helps me have some semblance of sanity to get through the day. Regular meal times is another thing for me that really helps me to feel like there's structure in my day, so that can be really helpful. And then some kind of movement, whether it's just walking, hiking.
So if I'm lying in a bed kind of depressed or feeling sad, or there's too many things on my mind, well, what am I looking up at? I'm looking up at a ceiling fan. Lying in a hammock, if it's daytime, I'm looking up at a cobalt blue sky framed by the ponderosa pines and the oaks. Or if it's at night, I'm looking up at the Milky Way. I'm looking up at a starry sky as our ancestors used to do. So you tell me, which one are we built for? Lying up looking at the sky or lying up looking at a ceiling fan?
So my experience with depression as a nomad, not a lot of it, but it does come. And when it comes, it scares me because I get fearful that I'm going backwards. And if you've overcome depression and you feel that fear, you know what I mean. It's a critical moment in your journey, and I have to make the decision to do something positive, to do something productive. And I will either go for a walk, I will clean my rig, I will call a friend, not text them, so I can hear their voice, make a point to reach out to somebody. And you just get up and move. And that has worked for me. It's worked. There's been probably, I'd say, a handful of times when I question my decision as a nomad. What am I doing out here? Everyone else has a home. What do you just go through that mental thing. But it's important to push through it, because there's so much beauty on the other side. I can't emphasize that enough. I have seen things that I can't describe with words or photos out here. And I wouldn't change it for the world.
I think the key to depression is, to loneliness, to most mental health is to make more room in the inner core of me for other people. Caring, concern, compassion, empathy for other people.
In the next part of the series, these same nomads open up about what gave their suffering shape and value. They speak of meaning and purpose. If you've ever wondered how people keep going, even when it hurts, don't miss the next video. A huge thank you to all of those who participated in sharing their stories and experience. If you liked hearing about nomadic mental health, you might enjoy our new channel, The Examine Life Daily.
Philosophy can make a huge difference in your mental and emotional, spiritual well-being.
So check out The Examine Life Daily, and we look forward to seeing you there.
See you there.